Welcome to Judicial Dollars and Cents, brought to you by Anders Virtual CFO Services team from all across the United States. I'm John Scott, and in each episode, we'll shine a light on the financial side of the legal world, turning law firm numbers into impact-driven stories. From taxes and profitability to practice growth and leadership, we sit down with law firm innovators who are shaping the future of the profession. Let's dive in, right here on Judicial Dollars and Cents. Welcome back to Judicial Dollars and Cents, where the business of law meets the practice of law. I'm John Scott with Anders Virtual CFO Services for law firms, and each week we sit down with successful attorneys, legal innovators, and business leaders to explore what it really takes to build a thriving law firm. We go beyond the courtroom to discuss leadership, profitability, operations, marketing, technology, AI, and the strategies that help firms grow, scale, and create lasting value. Whether you're a managing partner, an emerging firm leader, or simply passionate about the future of the legal profession, our goal is to provide practical legal insights that you can put to work immediately. Today, we are honored to welcome Jim Dwyer. Jim is the managing partner of Bridge City Law, which is a Portland-based personal injury firm dedicated to helping injured folks navigate difficult times with compassion, responsiveness, and exceptional legal representation. His journey into the legal world began long before law school. His first job was working at his father's law firm while still in grade school, filing court documents, making bank deposits, and delivering mail on the 10-speed bicycle he purchased with his own earnings. Growing up, he watched his father, Roy Dwyer, lead legal organizations, teach fellow attorneys, and emphasize one guiding principle above all: put the client first always. After earning his law degree, he was sworn in as an attorney at the U.S. Embassy in Tokyo while traveling through Asia before returning to Oregon to practice.
I can't hear anything.
Huh.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Adrian, can you hear me?
I don't have any sound coming through. Nope.
And now? Hey,
you
Adrian.
can hear me. Shoot.
I can. Adrian, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you coming through fine. I can hear both of you. Jim, you might want to check if
I can't hear Adrian either.
Okay. The audio, let me check in the private chat here, if you can see this in the private chat. There's probably an issue where sound is being rerouted through a different speaker. Check where the audio is being routed.
I'll put my hand up as soon as I can hear something.
Okay. Is in the.
Ooh. I'm on my iPad.
So there is, I don't know if you can hear me, John, there is an option. I just put it in the private chat for Jim. There's an option down below where there's a microphone next. If you look at the little caret next to the microphone icon below, there is, if you hit that, it'll show you where your sound is being output to. But I don't know if you can see let's see, let me put at Jim Dwyer in this chat and see if that pops up. Oh, he's got another.
Can you hear me? Is there feedback? Were you okay?
I can hear you.
Feedback before, but now it's great. Can you hear us?
Yes, I hear you just fine now.
Great.
Perfect. I heard you finally on the iPad, then it went away.
Huh. Strange. Well, I will let you guys get back to it. I will be back in the background. Continue having a great show.
Okay.
That's all right.
Thank you.
All right. So after earning his law degree, Jim was sworn in as an attorney at the U.S. Embassy in Tokyo while traveling through Asia before returning to Oregon to practice law again alongside his father. Years later, after relocating to Portland, he founded Bridge City Law with a vision that legal excellence, and social responsibility should go hand in hand. In 2021, and this is important, Bridge City Law became the first personal injury law firm in the world to become a certified B Corporation. We're going to talk a lot about that. reflecting on Jim's belief that law firms should measure success not only by financial performance, but by the positive impact they create for clients, employees, their communities, and society as a whole. Jim is also the author of The Caged Truth, a deeply personal book exploring authenticity, leadership, and the challenges that many people, especially men, face in living their most genuine lives. Jim, welcome to the show.
Happy to be here. Thank you, John.
Hey, I love people's origin stories, and I think you have a unique one growing up in the shadow of your father's firm, working there. Can you tell us a little bit more about that experience and how you got to be now the leader of Bridge City Law?
Sure. It's really funny. One of the things I love saying about my dad, he came from the streets of Philadelphia. And when he was in law school in 1960, the dean said to him, Mr. Dwyer, you need to stop trying to be a lawyer and go back to digging ditches. My dad took that as quite the challenge. So he graduated law school, started his own law firm, and I grew up in a family law firm. When I was in sixth grade, as opposed to now when you file things online, I took all the filings to the courthouse. I took the deposits to the bank. I took the mail to the post office on a 10-speed bike that I bought from the money I made working for my dad. So I grew up in a law firm family. As I got older, my dad was president of several of Western Trial Lawyers, Oregon Trial Lawyers Association. So he traveled a lot, did a lot of speaking, and I traveled with him the bulk of my life to seminars. And whenever I hear a lawyer calling me Jimmy, I know they knew me when I was a kid, because nobody calls me Jimmy now. And so now it just harkens me back to those younger days of traveling with my dad.
It's funny you say that. My brother's name is Jim, and sometimes he goes by James, but I'm the only one in the world that calls him Jimmy because he's 7 years younger than me, and I've always called him that.
If someone calls me James, that means they don't know me, and it's probably a junk phone call.
That's a good filter.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to talk about AI, but I want to focus on your B Corporation status.
Sure.
Now, look, everybody out there says they care about their people and their clients. I mean, even John Morgan, he really cares, and he's built a great marketing and law firm organization based on that belief that he cares. Tell me what was the impetus for going for this certification, and what sets you apart from other organizations because of the certification?
Well, I'm gonna assume that everybody who says they want to create that type of a business genuinely means that. Wishful thinking, aspirations are very different from taking the steps to accomplish those things. And we are so busy as lawyers that I found I had all these aspirations, but I didn't have the time to do all these things that I really wanted to do from a social standpoint, from my clients, from my staff, from the environment. And then a former business development gal of mine told me about B Corps. And I went, what? You mean someone has a metric that they use to help a company guide themselves to be a more socially conscious company? And they hold your feet to the fire. It is so hard to become B Corp certified. It's remarkable. And then you have to be recertified every 5 years. So you don't rest on your laurels, one and done. And the documentation you have to provide, I understand why most law firms don't do it. It is hard work. But many great accomplishments in life require hard work.
Well, I imagine, though, it leads to happier employees, happier clients, and it leads to growing happier you, which means that you don't dread coming into the office, that you're going to naturally grow as a firm financially and benefit from going through all that work to get certified and stay certified as well.
Absolutely. And the four main areas that B Corps focus in on is your impact to the environment, how you treat your staff, your clients, and then how you are involved in the community. And you have to upload. You just don't say, I've done this. You have to prove that you've done it. And so if you want to keep your status, you have to keep doing these things. And that's just the push that I needed. So I really accomplished the things that were important to me beyond being a good lawyer and making a good living. None of the things of B Corp is incongruent with that. It's actually perfectly congruent. It's finding the time in this hectic, busy world to allocate to do it.
Well, I think it's great that you've done this because it sets you apart from other personal injury attorney firms in that everybody's a decent lawyer. They're all good. That's just the pay to play,
Right.
what you got to pay to be there. And so this can help set you apart from those other firms. I want to tie this in with AI. And 5 years ago, certainly 20 years ago, and I'm going to freeze on the guy's name. He's an estate planning attorney. He has the Alaskan Trust Company. He does a lot of speaking. He comes to St. Louis at least once a year to speak about trust. He's a dynamic speaker. But 20 years ago, he was talking about AI. And we all kind of dismissed it, right?
Yeah.
It's coming, it's coming. Even 3 or 4 years ago, it was here, but people were scared of it. Now firms are embracing AI. And I want to know how your firm is using it and to what end. In other words, how does it help with your B certification to create this work-life balance and happy clients and happy staff?
So I've had, and I'm going to assume it's true for a lot of people, a lot of apprehension about AI. The less we really understand something, and then the bigger it is, the more kind of intimidating I experience things. So I kind of start like, I don't know if I like this. I have no control over the changes. It's this thing that exists out there. What if I don't like it? Yada, 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 right? And then I was listening to someone talk about it who ran a restaurant. And he said that they brought in AI to help them with the more menial tasks that most of the staff didn't even like doing, so that they could focus not on getting more business, but on doing a better job of taking care of the business they already have. When I heard that, I went, oh, that's a game changer. The light just went on, and I went, that's what I'm going to do. So now I just recently, one of our intake specialists has a partner who is incredibly brilliant and writes AI coding. So I hired him to help me communicate better with potential clients, not to get more clients, but just to do a better job communicating when they initially contact our office in the evening and on the weekends. And I told my staff, I'm not going to bring AI in unless everyone is behind it, is for it. And I want you to know I'm not bringing AI in to make more money or make you guys work harder. That is zero reason I'm doing it. I want you to be able to move away from things you don't like doing so you can spend more time doing the things you love, which is usually interacting and taking care of our clients.
And then that pushes them to move upstream and serve your clients better. And I love your application and the premise for AI. It's a lot like there was a gentleman named Zach Cass who used to be with OpenAI. And he's, I'm sure he's made a ton of money, so he can step away from that. But now he goes around speaking to small groups and to local governments. And his whole premise is exactly what you said. Let's create a little bit of capacity doing the repeatable mundane things that we don't want to do anyway. And then let's not be more productive with that 10 to 15% capacity, but let's spend more time with family and friends. And when he speaks to a local government, he's saying, hey, we've got to create safe spaces, good parks, good infrastructure so that people can spend that time with family and friends.
Absolutely.
And then, of course, we still have to have some human oversight and use this ethically. But I think I'm not scared of AI at all. I'm sure that there will be some bad actors out there, and we need to punish them hard if they're
Right.
taking advantage of people. But to the extent we can use tools, I mean, if you think about it, when I got into the accounting profession, we were doing things on green bar paper.
Right.
And we had spreadsheets, but it was VisiCalc and Lotus 123. And, amortization tables, depreciation schedules were all done by hand for the most part. In
Carbon paper.
Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah.
my kids have never even seen carbon paper.
Like, what are you talking about? We just write on our tablet. So we're just in that next wave of technology that is going to take us to the next level.
And that's the way my dad always was. My dad embraced technology. He had Mac laptops in the late 80s. And I just fortunately grew up with a dad who just decided to not be afraid of the future, embrace that you can deny the change, or you can roll along with the change and make it the best as possible. And that's what my dad always did. And I follow his example.
I don't know if you're a college football fan or college athletics at all, but NIL is a big deal. And I liken NIL to AI because you had coaches and universities that embraced it early on in states. Missouri passed a law that you could pay kids in high school to go to the University of Missouri. That gave them a huge advantage because they embraced it. Now, everyone catches up as you embrace the technology, but it's very similar. So let's talk about being a fiduciary and what does that mean to you and your firm?
So, are you familiar with the movie National Treasure?
Yes.
Okay. So Nicolas Cage plays a character who believes that there is a secret map on the back of the original Declaration of Independence. And nobody believes him. And finally, he is able to prove it exists, and it actually does lead to a treasure. I believe the same is true, not just for attorneys, but I'm going to speak to attorneys right now about the fiduciary duties that we owe our clients. So we have 3 fiduciary duties. First, duty of full and frank disclosure, duty of care, and duty of loyalty. And if you think about it, that is the foundation of every relationship in our lives. And the degree of attention we pay to a relationship is contingent upon how important that relationship is to us. And when you start, I will guarantee you, if a relationship breaks down, it's probably at least because either one or both people were not communicating well with each other. They weren't being honest. They weren't being forthright. They were afraid of speaking the truth, whatever the intentions are. Or they knew what they were supposed to do, duty of care, but they never actually walked the walk or walked the talk. We all know what that's like. And when a client called and said, well, you were supposed to do this, you didn't do it. I breached my duty of care. I didn't do what I'm supposed to do. And then we have duty of loyalty. And in the legal world, that's a conflict of interest, kind of simply put. But it's so much more than that. Duty of loyalty. I remember when my daughter was a sophomore in high school, she had a 1.9 GPA at best. And it was terrifying to me and my wife. And we had a choice. We talked about this. We had a choice of either fundamentally saying, look at what she's doing. She's going to be a beauty school dropout at best. That's what we can expect. Or we can take a step back, and our loyalty calls out for us to see more than what our eyes are seeing and our ears are hearing and our brain is understanding. It's about transcending beyond the simple things we see inside of ourselves and seeing the greater potential. And to me, loyalty of the 3 is the most powerful of the duties, because we can help elevate someone's life just by being loyal to them and seeing their greater potential. Am I saying
Okay,
that?
I want to flip to the end of this story. What happened?
So
1.9 sophomore year, where is she today?
So first off, one of our jobs was not to get angry,
right,
and judgy, because that never, you may feel good for a minute. It doesn't help at all.
She knew she wasn't doing well.
She knew. And finally, over time, she started turning it on. When she realized her grades were so low, she wasn't going to get into the University of Oregon, a switch went on. And she started making up all of her D and F classes and graduated with above a 3.0.
Wow.
Went to U of O, changed her degree 5 times, finally figured out in sociology. Then she got her BCBA, board certified behavioral analyst, 4.0.
Wow.
And then she became a psychiatric nurse, graduating the top of her class. This is our one.
Sometimes it just takes them some time to figure out what the right path is.
And it's hard, especially as a parent, to have faith in that. But the very nature of faith is it's not easy. If it was easy, then we all would have faith all the time. And we don't.
You know, I'm going to tell you a really quick story. I've got a client who's an executive at a family corporation, but it's a big corporation in the Midwest. And she has a brother, and both her parents were professors at a university. And the brother just kind of bounced through high school, said he wasn't going to college. The parents were devastated. Daughter's really doing well.
Right.
He goes out and he buys a fishing tackle shop, and he manages and owns farms. He's done better than the daughter, who works for a big corporation.
Right.
Just because he knew he didn't want to go to college, but he knew what he wanted to do, and he's been wildly successful. But I'm sure that the parents went through a lot of hand wringing and, oh my God, what did we do wrong? But it all works out in the end.
But even me pursuing the B Corp, I knew it was going to make me a better lawyer and me running a better business. Was that going to make my income and my business better? I don't know. I didn't do it for that reason. I did it for my personal reasons, my values.
You did it for your core values.
Yeah, I did it for my core values. I'm not doing it for other people. If you're not doing it for yourself, you're just not going to have what it takes to really make it work, because you're not being true to who you are. And that's not easy to be true to who you are. It's hard.
So let's change gears here a second. Hang on, I got to call. That is the wrong thing to do. Okay, let's change gears for a second and imagine you're sitting across from 10 attorneys that are leaving their law firms, their bigger law firms, and they want to start a personal injury firm. What's the single best piece of advice you could give them to start?
You better have deep pockets, because you're not going to. We hired a new attorney fresh out of law school in October a year and a half ago. She did not generate any income for us until 18 months later. It's not like you open up a store and you sell the goods immediately and you have money coming in. Running a personal injury firm, it's going to be an outflow of money for 18 months before you really have money coming in. So it's important to, I think if you're not ready for that, you're going to work for 6 months and then go, this doesn't work. I had no idea it was this hard or takes this long to make money.
Right. And I guess it depends on the type of cases you take. Motor vehicle accidents can be a little quicker on the settlement side or adjudication side compared to medical malpractice. But you're right. You got to have a slug of money or access to capital that can get you through that time until the cash flow cycle starts going. What metrics do you track as far as cases coming in, case length, how they're moving along? How do you track those?
Well, I know, so first off, because I know that the average case settles in 18 months from when it walks in. Now, some cases settle in 9 months. Some cases settle in 36 months or go to trial and get resolved in 36 months. But 18 months is the average. And one of the most important things is when you are hungry and you're worried about money, you take on cases you should never take. You're panicked.
It's risky. Yeah.
You make panic decisions. And generally speaking, panic decisions are not your best decisions.
Well, and I guess you have to ask yourself if you're making the correct ethical choice, if you're pushing for a settlement that maybe isn't in the best interest of the client.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, that's part of the fiduciary duty. The interest of your client is always before your interest. We actually owe a higher duty of care. I owe a higher duty of care to my clients than I owe to my wife and my children. I'm talking about a legal duty.
You can't let the family feel that, though.
Well, no. I'm not saying that. But ironically, the fiduciary duty is the highest level of legal obligations that are placed upon people. And we don't have that same legal obligation for our family. I mean, that's what's so interesting about it. And that's why I love the idea of taking the metric of the 3 fiduciary duties. And if you take that and apply it to important relationships, you get that benefit.
Hey, do you have the ability in your case management system to value the inventory of your cases? And then where I'm getting at is it is tougher. It's not impossible, but it is tougher in a PI firm, a contingent environment, to forecast cash flows. But if you look at the cases as an inventory, which they truly are, and PI firms are salable, right?
Right.
Do you, in your practice, value those cases, and then with that, and based on the different life cycles of a case, try and forecast cash?
Not at an operational level, making decisions per se. What I do know is, what is the average attorney fee, the average we have for all of our cases. So I know at a bare bones level, if the office has 500 cases, I know the average is X. So I can tell you at any given time, generally speaking, what is the average value of the cases the office or any given attorney has.
Well, I think that's a good start. I would encourage you to maybe, and with history, you can get better at this, predict what's going to come in over the next month, 2 months, 3 months. Hey, let's do a couple of rapid fire questions. What's the best leadership book you've read?
Wow, what is the best leadership book I have read? I would say, what was Simon Sinek? Did he make a book called Know Your Why? Did he make that into? I've watched his video and read so much about him that I can't remember if that was a book or not. But he was highly influential for me. It is. Go ahead. Sorry.
What is one thing a managing partner should stop doing immediately?
Stop looking only for the problems. When you're spending your time, when you are looking for problems all the time, all you're going to see is problems, and all you're going to communicate to people are the problems that you see. It is as equally important, and maybe even more so, to be aware of all the good things and be communicating those more than you communicate the bad things.
Love that answer. Thank you. Hey, before we wrap up, I've got kind of a side question for you. I've got my third child is currently living in Chicago with his girlfriend. and they are moving to Portland.
Wow.
Why? I don't know, because there's not really an easy way to get from St. Louis to Portland. There is during the cruise season between April and September. But when I want him to come home is Thanksgiving and Christmas, and then it's 2 flights and, a lot of money. Give me some restaurant recommendations when I go to visit him. Where would we go to eat? Don't worry about cuisine unless you get really weird, but give me the best non-touristy, off the beaten path restaurant.
Well, I'm a major foodie.
Oh, good.
And I love cooking. I'm an Argentinian cooker. And I love eating out as much as I love cooking. So, which is Thai meets barbecue.
Oh,
I've never had anything like it in my life.
that's awesome.
Canard, which is a French-American restaurant who has these silly little steam burgers that look like they should be nothing. And it's a religious experience every bite. It's illogical.
Well, I will have to check that out when I go to visit him. And I didn't take your advice when he told me what he was doing. I kind of snapped and said what his mother was thinking, but I was the guy who said it, so I was the bad guy. We got past that now, and I did get him to think about some things like, let's get a job before you go there. So I'm happy about that, and hopefully eventually, after he gets 4 or 5 years in Portland out of his system, he'll come back home.
I understand that as a parent, believe me.
Well, in my nirvana, they'd all live 20 minutes away from me, and we'd see each other at least once a week and get together for dinner. But that's what I want, not necessarily what they want.
Yep.
Hey, before we wrap up, Jim, what's the best way for folks to get a hold of you and learn about you and your firm, and maybe even about certification as a B Corporation?
So first, you can go to bcorp.com, tons of information. Maybe it's .org. I'm uncertain about that. Jim at bridgecitylawfirm.com. And if you go on to Amazon, I believe you can download my book, The Caged Truth.
That's awesome. Hey, thank you, Jim, again for joining us. And thank you all for listening and tuning in to Judicial Dollars and Cents, where the business of law meets the practice of law. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please like, follow, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Better yet, share this episode with another law firm leader who could benefit from today's discussion. Until next time, I'm John Scott with Anders Virtual CFO Services for Law Firms. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks for joining us on Judicial Dollars and Cents, presented by Anders Virtual CFO Services. If you found value in today's conversation, be sure to follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcast. To learn more about how Anders helps law firms strengthen their financial foundations and drive growth, visit anderscpa.com. Until next time, keep making smart decisions that make perfect sense.